We're now ready to bind the face. So yes, we're already at this step. We're ready to work on deformations. The only other joints we need to add will be for the tongue. So we'll take care of that later. Now what I like to do is work on the easier tasks first. So let's go ahead and start by parenting the character's teeth. I'll use NG to go to wireframe mode. We'll want the teeth and the gums all parented to their respective jaw joints. The tongue we will not parent because, again, it will be skin later on. I'll go ahead and create a copy of the Objects Manager. And now we can go in and select one of the inner mouth geometry pieces and use scroll to first active to find it. The next thing we will select is the upper jaw, and again we'll use scroll to first active. Okay, so now it's just a matter of parenting. Let's go ahead and find, there's male teeth top, male gums top, and we want that parented underneath the upper jaw bone. Alright, let's go ahead and do the same for the lower jaw. Let's grab those two objects and parent. So that goes to BN, lower jaw. Great. Alright, now how about the hair and the beard? We can go ahead and skin them, and they're just going to be skinned to just one bone. However, the beard will need to come back later and tweak that, because as we start to create pose morphs and have the mouth deform based off of how we have sculpted those, we'll need the beard to react naturally. So we'll learn a cool technique for doing just that. But for right now, let's go ahead and work on just skinning these two pieces. So with the hair selected, we can go in and grab the upper jaw. And with that selected, we can choose Character, Commands, Bind. Just taking a look at the options, I'm just using the default settings here. It's just one object that we are skinning to, so we'll just go ahead and choose OK. Alright, so there is the weight tag. And if we were to go in and grab the jaw, we should notice that the hair will now follow. Okay, great. It's a little creepy without the rest of the head following, but we'll take care of that. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the beard. With that selected, we'll go in and grab the lower jaw and skin. Okay, so now we can go ahead and test this out. Alright, beautiful. Okay, so next, it's now time to work on the face. The brows we're going to come back to. Again, we're going to use another technique to skin them, and it's going to be a very fast way to do it. But let's go ahead and start hiding objects we don't need to concern ourselves with just yet. I'll just use the hotkey NB to go back to shaded mode with wireframe. And I'm just going to go in and start to hide the hair. Let's hide the character's beard. We can hide the tongue also. And we should be good to go. We are now ready to skin the character's face. If you like, you could also go in and hide the brows if they get distracting at any point. Just a matter of going to the mesh underneath the hypernerves node. Okay, so that'll make things a little bit easier. But with the face selected, let's go ahead and now skin this. We'll go ahead and grab all of our bone objects. If you find it faster, you could always use the search field at the top to search for all of the skin joints from here, and just control click to add those to your selection. Okay. So now that they are skinned, let's go ahead and take a look. We'll grab the upper jaw. Feel free to lock the face layer. Okay, so that looks pretty neat, pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lower jaw. Okay, great. So we don't have much work to do to clean this up. We'll learn some cool techniques to get this done pretty fast. Now for the upper and lower lids, again, they're going to be tweaked very fast as well. But let's go ahead and get started now by just blocking in weight, and then we could start to smooth out and refine afterwards. So I'll go ahead and unlock the face layer, and let's open up our weights manager. I'd like to dock this over to the left side, and on our right side we'll go ahead and dock our recent commands menu. And now we can go ahead and access our weight tool. Okay, great. So heading over to our attributes manager, let's go ahead and lock this panel down, the weight tool. Now we're left with a very convenient way to select the bones we need to re-weight. I'll go ahead and hit spacebar, and I'll select the face mesh. Just FYI, underneath display, if you were to turn off weighting, what this does is it only shows the weights once you are in your weight tool, but once you go ahead and exit the tool, everything's back to shaded mode. So if you find that more convenient, most certainly can work that way. And I actually like to just leave that off. Let's go ahead and show our options, our joint objects. And now when we select the face, we can go in and get right in and start to paint weight. So I'll go ahead and find the neck bone and grab the weight tool. Now I tend to block in weight first. What that means is we'd want to set our strength to 100% and our mode to absolute. So we're painting in that full amount here. And then we could start to refine afterwards. So we just would go in and look for any areas that should be fully controlled by the bone object. We could go ahead and paint that with 100%. When it comes to the lower jaw, we can go ahead and start to work there. Just kind of fill in areas with 100%. The weighting doesn't look too bad at all. Okay, now for these areas under the chin, to save some time, what I like to do is work with the symmetry brush. This is a great way to mirror weights in Cinema 4D. So you simply want to make sure it's enabled. And since we're just painting to a single joint, we could have our mode set to single. However, if we are painting on our left side and we want that mirror to a joint on the right, we can go ahead and set this mode to name, and then simply insert those two names here. So the underscore L underscore would go here in the left field, and underscore R underscore in the right field. So that's basically how that works. But right now we should just be fine with working with single. We'll set the search to a full weight. So we have whatever we paint on this side fully mirrored on the opposite side. So you can see if we were to go ahead and take a look at the right side, everything looks very well. Alright, so that's basically how I like to set the scene up. Right underneath, we can go ahead and grab the, let's say, the neck, and paint a full weight to block in some weight here. For the upper jaw, let's go ahead and grab that joint. And this is basically going to control a majority of the head. So let's go back to our weight tool options just to increase the radius of our brush. And we'll go ahead and paint in all of this, including the eyelids. It'll be a lot easier to re-weight them after we're done with this step. We're going to spend a lesson on taking care of the eyelids. We won't do that here. I'd also like to point out that if you'd like more information on skinning techniques, feel free to take a look at our rigging cartoon character series, as well as working with the character object, utilizing that tool to auto rig characters. Go through a few techniques in that tutorial as well. But again, it's just a matter of blocking in weight and then smoothing out the result after. I find that to be much more manageable. And when we start to paint a full weight of 100%, we know exactly where the vertices that we paint are receiving weight from. We know exactly what they're being controlled by. So that leads to much less of a hassle when we have to redistribute points and we don't quite know exactly what they're weighted to. As we start to rotate our joints, we notice some points floating that shouldn't be. Again, by blocking in weight, that helps us to mitigate those type of issues. Okay, great. So once the upper jaw has been painted in, I now at this point would like to add some animation to the lower jaw. Let's go ahead and make sure that the face layer is locked. We'll grab our jawbone. We'll go back to our attributes manager. Let's go ahead and unlock it. And we'll set our mode to object. From there, let's check our coordinates and we'll freeze this joint. That way we can quickly get back to this reset position. We'll enable auto key. Everything on the animation palette is good to go. We're setting keyframes, so now we can go in and just record the jaw just rotating down. Alright, so now we can use this to help gauge our progress as we paint, just making sure everything will now deform very nice, and that will help us to speed up our weighting workflow. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the lesson here, and in the next lesson we will work on refining what we've just painted.